believe I can be a pro skater. I've achieved it because I was believing it enough to let it change how I thought, let it change how I talk, let it change how I showed up at the skate park.
The first year, what were you doing on Nitro Circus?
I was skating with Bob Burnquist out there in Australia and proved myself enough that they invited me to come on the European tour, and I've basically been traveling with them ever since. Nitro Circus, if you don't know what it is, it's like you pack all the best of the best in action sports into an arena, and everyone's just throwing down the best tricks they have. Every night we have a show, something happens that has never been done before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's insane.
Have you always been a positive person?
From a young age, I just always felt like life's a gift. I think it's a beautiful opportunity to create whatever you want out of it. And like that in itself, there's always something to be grateful for. I always say, feel great by being grateful. Life is happening for you, not to you.
Beaver Fleming, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, Ed? Thanks for having us out.
Man, thanks for coming. So I'm really excited to talk to you. Your story's pretty wild. You're a professional skateboarder, toured with Travis Pastrana on the Nitro Circus.
Yep.
From Knoxville, own Reliance Skateboard, gave me a skateboard. I really appreciate that. And it's a Christian-based skateboarding company.
Yep.
And you've basically been the first to do multiple tricks.
Yep.
So yeah, man, thanks so much for coming down.
Absolutely, man. Stoked to be here. It's an honor, and just appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, thanks. So you're from Knoxville.
Yes, sir.
Knoxville, Tennessee. So John T. Black made the intro.
Yep.
Thanks, John T. He's been very supportive of bringing awesome guests. So how did you meet John?
So I met him. It's a crazy story. I had just been, the Knoxville skate park just opened up. So that's a whole story in itself. I'm sure we'll talk about my journey with skateboarding. But he would ride his mountain bike. There's a bike trail that comes through, and he would see me skating. And I remember because I would see him quite often, and it took one time I was really like in a heavy session. And he just kind of came up to me and was like, keep doing what you're doing. It was just like that small little word of encouragement, like what you're doing is working, keep it up kind of thing. And then we started connecting more and more, and he kind of started getting me into the physical aspect of training to build endurance and stamina so that I could skate better and stuff, because that really still didn't translate over to the action sports world at that time. So yeah, we just developed the relationship that way, and he helped me get connections and different things going on, and he's just always been I would say just a great encouragement and supporter of everything that I'm doing. That's
awesome. And you know, when you moved to California, so you started skateboarding in Knoxville, but then you moved to California when?
17.
You were 17 years old.
17 years old.
Whoa!
Senior year of high school.
What was that like?
That was wild. It was a crazy transition. It was kind of like, really, that was like the turning point for me of, okay, skateboarding's fun, it's a hobby, to I want to make a career in this. I want to build a life into this and really push myself and see if that would be possible. I knew I could only be so good in Knoxville because the industry's out in California. And so, yeah, at that time it was like pivotal with high school, senior in high school, Woodward, it's an action sports camp. They mainly focus in summer camps, but it's crazy because the school only existed literally for my senior year. So they had a boarding school at the camp, and then they were like, it's way too hard to run a school and a summer camp. We got to stay in our lane. But yeah, for me, I'm the only graduate from Woodward U, and had my graduation on the mega ramp they had there. But yeah, that was really that turning point for me to take this thing and build a career out of it.
So how did you start? Like, how old were you when you started skateboarding?
I was somewhere around like 9 or 10 years old. And I mean, you know, Knoxville back then, no one knew what a skateboard was. The only reason I found out what skateboarding was, my brother got the video game, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Oh, nice. And being the older brother, he's 3 years older, he's the cool kid, wouldn't let me play the game, but I was allowed to watch him play, right? So I'm watching him play, and I always equate it to like, I think when you're a kid, every kid thinks it'd be the coolest thing in the world to fly, right? Like, how can I fly? So I'm watching my brother use this skater, hit the ramp, and it's like he's flying in the air. He's doing flips, he's doing spins, he's manipulating the board to do something crazy. I'm like, that's it. That's how I can learn to fly, is by skateboarding. And so my neighbor had a board, and basically he gave me that, and I've pretty much been skating every day since.
Nice. So when you started, were you good?
No, not at all. Terrible.
How did that progression go?
That progression just took, and I think it taught me a lot of life lessons, like cause and effect, reaping and sowing. Like if I would sow time in on the board, I'd get more comfortable on it. I'd learn new tricks, but it was up to me. I always loved the idea of being an athlete and playing team sports. You know, I played baseball, basketball, played all the things, but I didn't always like relying. If I was all in and wanting to do well in the game, I had to rely on 10 other people to be in that same mentality. But skating, it's like, if I want to learn a kickflip, it's on me. Yeah. I got to put my time in. I got to work on this thing, figure out how to do it. And so it took a few years to really get comfortable on it, but I just had that passion for it and that persistence to continue doing it. And yeah, skateboarding is really difficult. It wants to go every way, but straight. It doesn't want to do what you want it to do. So you really have to figure out how to find that harmony and rhythm within it. And it'll throw you on the ground more than you'll land on your wheels. But I think those times you do land on your wheels make it all worth it.
Yeah. What was the first trick you did?
First trick I did was probably an ollie. I'd have to go back, but I remember one of the things I love to do, I would set up the little plastic ramp and put the rail behind it and ride onto the rail because I couldn't quite jump onto the rail properly. But man, yeah, little things like that were so much fun.
Yeah, and those first wins, I can imagine, you do your first trick, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
It's a confidence thing. I can share the idea of, team sports and individual sports.
Yeah.
I started wrestling when I was 11. And so I learned how to lose really quick, and there's nobody else's fault, but, I don't want to say fault, but nobody else out there but yourself.
Right.
And, it's a little different, doing an individual type sport than a
it can be annoying to think of it that way too, right? You're like, no one else to blame. I guess I got to point the finger right in the mirror at me.
That's right. Well, it builds character, man.
100%.
I think there's a lot of victim kind of mentality out there right now where we blame others.
Yeah.
And this is,
it's crippling. Yeah.
It is. Then if you learn too, it's okay to lose. It's okay to fail. I got to keep trying because that's ultimately what determines success. That's a life lesson.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, when did you see John T? How old were you when you saw John T on the track?
I was probably 14 or 15.
Okay.
So yeah, I was pretty, like I said, in that time of, all right, getting ready to transition into going to Woodward and making a career out of it. That was kind of like the couple years prior where it was like, he's encouraging me to take this thing seriously. I start competing at the national level at amateur events and doing pretty well, like placing top 3 in these contests. And I'm like, man, I don't even live with the best facilities in the world for what I'm doing. And I'm doing pretty well at this. What happens if I can get into an environment where I can really push myself to succeed and learn all these tricks that I need?
What was that like? You go out to California when you're 17, you do that one circuit and, what was it like when you were first skating with, I'm going to say, the best on a regular basis?
It was amazing. It was just kind of like everything started to click for me. I was like, because the thing was, I went to traditional high school too up until that point, and then it was online school. And what I realized at that point was awesome was the way the structure was. If I got my work done, I had all day to skate. So I would bang out all the schoolwork from like 9 a.m. till 11 and then had the rest of the day to just skate and do whatever I wanted and work on my craft and what I really was passionate about. And so that taught me this cool discipline of like, man, if I can figure out how to get the things done that I don't necessarily want to do, like who loves boring schoolwork? But if I can get that done, it opens a door for me to have opportunity to do what I want to do. And developing the discipline in what I didn't like doing unlocked a whole new level of passion for me. And so, I was skating like 8 hours a day, every single day. Woodward's incredible. It's got all the different foam pits, resi mats. So it's like you can take a gnarly risk, but you're going to land softer than concrete, right? Yeah. So you have more ability to learn these tricks at a higher rate because you're not taking the beating all the time. And so, yeah, it was monumental and truly helped me progress and accelerate to the point of where that's ended up. I know I'm probably speaking too far, but that was where I got connected with Travis Pastrana and he invited me to join Nitro. Was right there coming to the tail end of my senior year of high school. Oh,
so you were invited at the end of your senior year of high school to do the Nitro Circus?
Yeah, so the Woodward facility, it's this action sports camp and his wife is a pro skater. So he was up, there's like a crazy off-road course. So he was testing cars up there, and his wife, Lindsay, came up to skate. And I had no idea they were coming. Someone kind of rumored it, and a lot of friends were going out to like go into town, go watch a movie or something, but I like heard he might be coming. So I was like, I'm going to stay and see what happens. And crazy enough, like, yeah, sure enough, he shows up. I'm all amped to see him because he's like, you know, the reason people make a living in action sports, you know, double backflip, all the crazy things he's done on his dirt bike. And before I even meet him, he's already filming me skating. Oh, nice. And then I start trying these tricks into the foam pit that no one had ever done, tricks that I was really working on that would be cool to land one day. And he was like, dude, I've never seen anyone skate the way you skate. We've got to have you a part of Nitro Circus.
That's awesome.
It was so crazy because here I am, just a huge fan. Like I watched Nitro as a kid here in Tennessee. Like, man, like that's everyone's dream, just to have fun with your friends and push yourself. And that's what they were doing. And skateboarding hadn't really translated into Nitro Circus at that point. And so to be invited by the man himself that started the whole thing was just truly incredible. And so my 18th birthday, I'm on a flight to Australia for my first tour.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
yeah.
What was that like? You know, the first year, what were you doing on Nitro Circus?
Yeah, so the first year, it was crazy because like I said, I was competing at the amateur level, wasn't quite ready to go to the professional, but was really looking like, all right, I don't want to go back to Tennessee. I want to stay in California. I want to make moves. I just need something to open up for me in the action sports industry. And then when we got involved with Nitro Circus, it was crazy. Had my first tour. I was skating with Bob Burnquist out there in Australia, and proved myself enough that they invited me to come on the European tour, and I've basically been traveling with them ever since. And it was just a whole new world to me because Nitro Circus, if you don't know what it is, it's like you pack all the best of the best in action sports into an arena. We have the mega ramp. They have these big freestyle motocross ramps that are jumping 75 feet in the air, probably 60 feet up in the air, and everyone's just throwing down the best tricks they have. And it was just like an amazing place for me to get catapulted in because it was like, all right, here you go. You're good, but now's an opportunity to be great. And here you go. And every night you're able to try something. Every night we have a show. Something happens that has never been done before.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's insane.
Yeah. So you got, he says it's a lot of motorcycles. It's a lot of,
yeah.
What all sports do they have in there?
So we have freestyle motocross, skateboarding, scootering, BMX bikes, and then the cool part is they have all the contraptions. So they have like a little kid's trike, they got a garbage can that goes down the ramp, a kayak, a little VW bus, like Power Wheels thing. So that's what keeps it fun too. It's like obviously fun is at the core of everything Nitro Circus. Yeah, we want to push ourselves. Yeah, we want to do things that have never been done. But also we just want to have a good time. And so we have this kind of saying, you ride it, you jump it. And so if anyone has a crazy idea or this contraption is what we call them, bring it to the ramp, and there's only one way to find out if it's going to work.
And you pulled off certain tricks first time. Like what are some of the tricks that you did first time?
Yeah, so the first trick that I invented, I guess you could say, was the Fleming Flip. I got to name it after I invented it. Nice. And it was like a backflip, and I flip my board while I'm flipping. So I do a finger flip the board, do a backflip, and then catch it and put it back on and ride away. So that was cool because that was one of the tricks Travis saw in the foam pit that had never been done, and basically got invited on to do and pulled it in my first tour.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? What was it like the first time you pulled it off? Were they going crazy?
Oh, it was insane. Yeah, it was just wild. And that's what's so cool about it as well. The action sports camaraderie is like everyone knows how long you've been trying something, or that you're putting yourself on the line to see if it's possible. And yeah, just sharing that moment with some of your best friends is what we live for.
Now, so you've been touring with them now for like 12 years then, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, crazy.
So how many shows do you have a year?
It kind of depends on the year. This year's been a little light. We had one show in Costa Rica, but it just got announced. We got a show next month with Harley Davidson filming for their 100-year anniversary, which is going to be really fun. That's in Milwaukee. We got a tour coming up in Colombia, and then it sounds like a U.S. tour here at the end of the year too.
Okay.
But on average, we probably do anywhere from, I would say, 30 to 50 shows a year.
Nice.
So yeah, keeps you pretty busy.
That's a lot for 12 years.
Yeah.
So you were in California at 17. Did you move there by yourself?
Yep. Yeah, it was a boarding school at the camp. So yeah, thankfully the parents supported that and sent me out there.
And what did you do after that? So you have a job. touring with Nitro Circus. Are you living out there by yourself?
Yeah, I stayed out there in between tours. At that point, we were touring quite a bit between Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and then in between, I had worked out a deal with Woodward that they let me kind of stay there and hang out in the summers. Like I said, it's an action sports camp, so which was really fun. I'd get to skate with all the kids throughout the summer and get to hang out there, and it was amazing.
Yeah, so 18, 19, 20, what are you doing? You have kind of a routine, like what are your goals within, at that time for yourself?
Yeah, the goals at that time were just to really have as much fun as possible. We're traveling all over the world. We lived in Australia for like 3 months, and so I was just hungry to keep skating, keep progressing with Nitro. I mean, I continued to learn new tricks and push the limits in that. That was really kind of mainly what the goals were around, was just being in the moment and taking that all in.
And so for like the pro skateboarding circuit, what have you done within that?
Yeah, so within the pro skating circuit, like competing in X Games, different stuff like that. Nitro had a contest as well called World Games. Did a couple of the Olympic qualifying events, and that's the thing that's interesting with skateboarding. There's so many different disciplines, and I was kind of really specializing in the mega ramp, but unfortunately there haven't been that many events around that. So I tried to adapt my skating to the park style for the Olympic stuff. And that's a whole beast within itself. And I realized I just wasn't as committed to the competitive side as I was to the innovation side, right? With Nitro, it's like, what has never been done before? Rather than be the best in the arena that's already built, what outside of the box that has never been built can we build to see if that works? And that just kind of drew me a little bit. It just kind of opened up a new door within myself that I felt called to. And yeah, I mean, skateboarding's so cool because there's just endless possibilities with it.
Yeah, you get to trailblaze within the sport.
Exactly.
What tricks are you working on right now that haven't been done?
I mean, right now, I haven't really, I kind of let rest be a priority because I just did one of the biggest ones I was chasing for, well over 10 years. From the first time I ever threw it into a foam pit to landing last year on the Nitro Tour, I ended up landing the first ever double backflip on a skateboard.
Double backflip.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Had never been done. So.
And you worked on that for 10 years?
Over 10 years. Yeah.
So when did you know that you could actually pull it off? Possibly.
Once the ramps got better.
I see.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with innovation and everything too. It's like, can it be done? The hardest part, honestly, was really just slowing down the rotation enough to land, because it's easy to get the rotation around, but how do you stop yourself from continuing to keep flipping?
Yeah.
Skateboard, you don't have handlebars, you don't have brakes. A lot of the BMX guys, they'll do a double flip and then they'll tag the brakes so that they don't loop out. But skating, it was like, one of the things that shifted with the ramps was rather than going like 50 feet in distance, we shortened the gap, but made the height and the trajectory higher. So rather than going 50 feet this way, I was going about 25, 30 feet up and about 20 feet in distance. And so that was really, the mechanics that helped make that trick possible.
Yeah. I mean, when you're doing that for the first time, there's got to be some fear in there, right? Like the crash could be bad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've had every crash imaginable on that thing. And the determination just to continue persevering. Tony Hawk with his 900 took him over 10 years to do that as well. And it's just one of those things, like, it's cool to experience that. As much as I would have loved to have gotten it a lot sooner, it's like, it makes you appreciate and what builds within allowing the process of time. Right? It just builds some sort of resilience that, like, I think is attractive. And what we need is like, is it possible? There's, again, one way to find out.
Yeah.
Are you willing to go through it? Are you willing to endure it? Especially, I think our culture is so, I want it all, I want it now. I call it the microwave mentality. But to have the discipline to keep going, land on your face, land on your back, get wrecked for 10 years before you ever land it. It's wild, but I think it makes you appreciate it that much more.
Yeah, well, with culture the way it is, as you're saying, the microwave mentality.
Yeah.
What made you different? What made you say, hey, that's not going to be the road that I go on?
I think just not wanting to give up. I truly believe that all things are possible. Like, if you can see something in your mind, if you have a vision for it, you can achieve it in your life, but it takes time. And no one knows how long or short that's going to be. And you've got to be willing to, because I trust this is possible, I'm going to work as if it's so. I'm going to show up as if it's so. And I think that's really what kind of separated me. Same thing, like growing up as a kid in a small town in Knoxville, with that big dream. I didn't want to just show up at the skate park just like all my friends did. I wanted to show up with, I believe I can be a pro skater one day. I'm going to show up with passion. I'm going to show up with purpose. I'm going to, while you guys are going, to get a drink or go chill and we're at the skate park for 5 hours, I'm going to skate for all those 5 hours. And, it pays off over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you said you have a brother. Do you have any other siblings?
Just an older brother.
Just an older, is he a skater as well?
No, he's actually an aerospace engineer.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, totally different path.
It is a little different.
Yeah.
Skateboard in space, maybe.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, maybe one day we'll collaborate together.
You never know, first time. Because, culture is really teaching. We talk a lot about culture on the podcast.
Okay,
It really is. To me, it teaches a victim mentality right now. So be a victim to your circumstances,
right,
rather than seeing circumstances as an opportunity to grow and get better.
Yep.
I'm sure, over those 10 years, as you're practicing that double backflip, it would have been easy to say, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this.
Yeah.
After the second year or fifth year or seventh year. Heck, maybe even the ninth year.
Right.
You're like, it would have been completely reasonable to say, I'm not going to ever pull this off.
Right.
But, the idea that, no, I can, I'm not going to quit and give up.
Yeah.
I'm going to kind of, go above the adversity of those obstacles. It's something people can learn from.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people fail. Most people fail because they give up too soon.
100%. Yeah.
Where do you think that you got that mentality though? Was it your parents? Was it just something that in you as a child?
I think it was just, same thing. Like as a kid, my parents always believed and supported what I did. However, I know they had a lot of kind of adverse parents. Like, why are you letting your son go to California? Why are you letting your son skateboard? Is there really anything? And I think I just proven track record, like, okay, I was able to move to California. I was able to get on Nitro Circus. I kind of stacked up and utilized the things that I'd done in the past to really kind of encourage me, like, man, just don't give up on this thing. Something's there. And I'd set that trick aside for a time or two as well. And I was joking. I was like, man, I've gone up those set of stairs with every emotion under the sun. I've gone up there like so motivated, so confident. This is the one, hyped up. Let's go. I've walked up there like crying. I've walked up there like so frustrated. Like if this one doesn't happen, I've gone up those stairs with that mentality. And it's kind of like, I think that was part of the process I needed to learn in that too, was like every sphere of it, what's going to happen. And then also letting it get like, realizing it wasn't going to make or break who I was as a person either too.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we can have our goal and it's on this pedestal, right? Like, oh, I will be happy when, I'll achieve success when, but it's really like, man, just being grateful for where you're at. And again, I kind of took the, whatever pedestal I had the trick on is like, you know what? It is going to be awesome, but it's not going to be my everything.
Right.
And that shifted as well. And I think was something important too, to just really keep myself motivated to go after it, but for a different reason, I think, and that helped as well.
Yeah, I think what you just said, like being grateful.
Yeah,
that's another thing. Is that I think that in ways jealousy and envy or a feeling of just entitlement really hurts people being successful as well. But if you can go into it, because you got a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah,
you've worked your butt off to get to where you are. You're living your dream.
Yeah.
You get to go and skate every day, which is, one of the things that you love the most.
Yeah.
But, I think a lot of times in the microwave mentality, we lose track of that. We almost have it so good that a lot of people don't look at it as something to be grateful for when we have it good. Like that mentality, have you always been a positive person and looked at things from a gratitude standpoint?
I think so, yeah. From a young age, I just felt like life's a gift. I think it's a beautiful opportunity to create whatever you want out of it. And like that in itself, there's always something to be grateful for. I always say, feel great by being grateful. Like a lot of people aren't
That's
feeling
good.
great. Well, I'm like, start being grateful. And then you'll realize like, it's just one of those laws of nature that is there for us.
Yeah.
Like life is happening for you, not to you. And if you can really dive in, find things to be appreciative of, you're going to have more of that in your life. There's going to be more to be grateful for. And overall, you're going to enjoy your experience more.
Yeah.
I think life is just, it's not a means to get by. It's an opportunity to thrive and enjoy it. The best thing we can do is enjoy our life. And skateboarding, like you said, that's a gift that I get to skateboard every day. And I've just chosen to continue to appreciate that gift. I believe when you take a gift, when you treat a gift with complacency, you remove its value. There's no value in it. Take whatever gift it is, right? Like my wife, if I treat her with complacency, then she's not going to feel valued. I'm not going to appreciate her as much. Our marriage isn't going to be that much fun, but she's a gift, right? She is a gift to me. If I treat her as that gift, if I cherish her as that gift, our relationship's going to be more beautiful. Think of it like when you're a kid and you get a gift for Christmas. You're so amped on that gift because it's new, it's fresh. Over time, you forget what gift you even got come summertime.
Yeah.
But again, if you can appreciate it, and it takes time, it takes intentionality to appreciate those gifts, but when you do, it makes them more beautiful, and you enjoy that experience even more.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine too. Growing up, you have your heroes in the sport.
Yeah,
You know, now you're a hero to a lot of these kids too. You know, they're looking at you the same way. But you know, what was it like, or what is it like, being able to where all your heroes now know you?
yeah,
And they're your friends.
Yeah.
And getting to kind of live out that dream. What does that feel like?
it's honestly, it's I don't even know if I have the words to convey it, because I was playing my heroes in a video game.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I was playing these guys. I was at an event last weekend in Salt Lake City, Tony Hawk's Vert Alert, and Tony is commentating on my runs. And it was just so cool. I was actually watching the tape back last night of the contest and just hearing the things Tony was speaking about me. And it was just like,
That's cool.
it's so cool, because I was that kid, you know, I was that kid from that small town wanting this dream, and now I'm living it. And that's why I just have a passion to go and do a lot of different outreach to the youth and stuff, because I'm like, all things are possible. If it's worked in my life, it can work in yours. Whatever it is you're passionate about, trust that there is a plan and a purpose for your life, and then work like it's so, and you'll never know what doors are going to open up for you. And skateboarding's so cool because it is such a tight-knit community to where we are able to meet our favorite heroes, our people that pave the way, but it's just so cool that they're still skating, but also putting on events for us to continue to have a platform and a place to do what we love.
Well, you were in the Olympic Training Center with Shaun White too.
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was really cool. Shaun is amazing, and just learning so much from that mentality of what it takes to be a champion, and the way he would show up. It was powerful. It was crazy. It's like one of those guys like you see on TV, you know, but then you like get into their world and just see what they're all about, and had so many awesome sessions with him and just hanging out. But kind of it was cool. It was in a transitional phase for his life too, because he was like, am I going to go all in for the skating, or am I going to get another one in snowboarding? And he chose to go for the snowboarding. But just getting to understand that dynamic too, of like making decisions, committing to them, and building a part of the process.
Yeah. What did you learn from Shaun White's mentality?
I just learned it's kind of that never give up, that same thing of just like show up, do the hard things so much that they become easy. And that's kind of like the approach that I've taken now as I'm getting back more into the competitive, like at Tony Hawk's event was the contest, the vert, the half pipe. It's like, get your hard tricks down to where they become easy. And that's what he's all about. That was kind of his secret weapon, was just forcing himself, whether he felt like it or not, right? It's like some days, I'm not feeling it. Well, champions don't decide based on how they feel. It's by what they choose. And he showed up with that. I learned that from him for sure.
That's awesome. Do the hard things until they come easy. That's a great quote right there.
Yeah.
How about injuries? So, you know, obviously skateboarding, there's a ton of injuries. It's really rough on the body.
Oh, it's brutal.
What are some
morning, man? I got smoked this morning skating a handrail downtown. I ripped my hand back open from a crash a couple weeks ago. It's great. I love it.
Well, what's the worst injury you've got?
The worst injury was definitely I blew out my knee, did my ACL, ripped the meniscus off the bone actually,
Oh, man.
which I didn't even know you could do till they told me. It was funny because I didn't even realize what had happened. it wasn't anything crazy. Like I've taken some gnarly hits, and the one that did my knee was, didn't feel right. So I kicked my board out and went to run, and my knee just buckled.
Oh man.
Fully gave out. And I didn't even realize what had happened. There wasn't that much pain initially either. It was just, it wasn't working. Yeah. So I tried to stand up, tried to walk out of the bowl, but it just kept crumbling. And I'm like, all right, something ain't right here.
What's going on here?
So, but kind of took like a week, tried to get the swelling down. It wasn't going down, tried to move it and had no idea, and then ended up getting the MRI. The crazy thing was this was the day before our first Nitro tour in Australia.
Oh, man.
So we were just getting back into a big tour, and it happened right then. So no tour for me. I had to fly home, and Doc was like, yeah, you did an amazing job on this knee. So yeah, that set me off my board for about 5 to 6 months total.
You had surgery on your ACL and meniscus?
Yeah, full reconstruction, ACL, MCL, meniscus, and yeah, that was a brutal road.
Dude, when I tore my knee, LCL, PCL, meniscus, it hurt really bad when it happened.
Yeah.
But I was actually in the ring and I was like, just give me, I walked it off.
Yeah.
And yeah, kept training. And then it hurt bad, but I was like, there's no way it's that bad. I wouldn't be able to even walk.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, I went in to the doctor, got the MRI, and they're like, yeah, you completely blew your knee.
Yeah.
And
your stomach just drops in that moment, huh?
I know.
Yeah. You're just like, no way.
Yeah.
You don't want to believe it.
You don't. And, the life stops for a moment and you got to take it in. And then especially if you're, competitive,
yeah,
you realize you've got to stop your training.
Yeah.
And, there's, I was talking to, do you know Dominic Cruz, the MMA fighter?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's in San Diego, actually.
Oh, okay.
I should connect y'all. But Dom's one of my best friends.
Oh, awesome.
And, he lost the title the first time, not because he lost it in a fight, but because of injuries.
Oh.
And he had 6 surgeries, I believe it was, on his knees in 3 years. And so, and then he came back and he won the title again, which is wild.
Yeah.
But he would talk about that, as a fighter, that his whole life was so wrapped up in just fighting and training that when he didn't have that, he was going into like deep depression, and it was really difficult. Did you experience any of that when you had your 6 months off?
For sure. I mean, you come out of the surgery, I couldn't even lift my leg off the table, and all these dark, heavy thoughts come in. Like I'm a pro skateboarder. This is what I do. This is who I am. Right. That's what your identity is in it. And you're like, am I ever going to be able to walk again? Am I ever going to be able to skate again? Am I ever going to be able to skate the same again? And it's just, again, it's kind of comes back to that belief. Like, what are you going to choose to believe? Because some people, they'll let that be a career-ending injury, and some people will rise up. And I just chose to, all right, I'm going to heal this thing. We're going to figure out how to get over this. And it really opened up just a new awareness in my head. Like, I'd always tried to be pretty decently healthy in what I ate and consumed and things like that. But at a higher level, I'm like, all right, I want to see how we can heal this thing. And so I know we talked a little bit about your opioid situation. And so that was one of the things going in. I was like, all right, no pain block, no nerve block on the thing. And the doc was like, really? I'm like, just shred the prescription because I want nothing to do with it, because I'm like, my body knows if there's pain, it needs to heal. Like, our body's smarter than we think it is. It's like we're designed in a way that we know how to go and heal something. It's like if we cut our arm, body knows, okay, send blood there to heal the cut. So same thing, when something's torn or messed up, you get the surgery. All right, now it's time for the body to heal itself. And so, just chose to endure whatever pain would happen, as much as it sucked for those first couple weeks. It was like, I think that helped my recovery time massively because I wasn't delaying it, right? And looking for that later. And then also just got connected with I stayed with one of the guys that did medical on our tour, and he was in Thousand Oaks. They had an incredible, it was amazing. Like, when he wasn't working on me, someone was working on me. So I would go there for like 8 hours a day, and they just had the technology. And then also got connected with the guys that started Bulletproof Upgrade Labs in Santa Monica.
Okay.
I literally showed up there in an Uber on crutches, and I'm like, hey, I heard your modalities like red light therapy, PEMF, these do something. I just did my knee. You guys want to see if it'll work? And we worked out a trade deal that they were like, yeah, come in basically every day and sit on the machines, go in the red light bed. And it's crazy. And so
awesome.
Just opening myself up to that world of health, nutrition, and just kind of the biohacking world was amazing. And I learned so much that it was like, as much as that injury sucked, I wouldn't trade it because of the people I met, the things I got to experience, and yeah, it's just continued, I think, to help me have longevity in my career now.
Yeah, it's cool that you're doing some of the biohacking stuff.
Yeah.
I've got a 5.5 foot red light panel.
Oh, awesome.
That rolls over the bed. It's about 2.5 feet wide, so it's
Yeah.
full body. I've got one here and in Mexico.
Amazing.
We've got 3 PEMF 120s.
Oh, wow.
So probably the one or a similar one that you were using.
Yeah.
PEMFs do incredible for pain. Did you
I love it.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like for some of our cancer patients that have like, let's say they come in with a 10 pain.
Right.
It doesn't work the same for everybody.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, we can get on that machine and it'll bring it down to like a 2 within 15 or 20 minutes.
Those things are amazing.
Yeah. What was your experience? Like was your knee aching when you first started using it? Did you experience like the pain relief instantly?
Pretty quickly. Yeah. I mean, I had a really traumatic incident. So like all the trauma from the surgery, I noticed big time the swelling went way down, way faster than they expected.
Yep.
And the scars from the red light, that healed up the scars. Like you almost can't even notice them anymore, which is crazy.
That is wild.
Like we went on for like, I think it was the 3-month checkup with the doctor, and he's like, I don't know what you've been doing, but whatever it is, it's working for you.
That's awesome.
You know how doctors are. They're so stuck in their 20 years ago, whenever they went to school mentality.
Right.
So it's like all this technology is coming out. And so that's where I was like, okay, it's not by the book, but maybe we write a new one.
That's right. No, the red light's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I love red light. I kind of got onto it. It was over COVID.
Okay.
My business partner, Scotty, we bought one of those fat freezers, those things that can freeze your fat, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so we bought one, and he had some kind of love handles. And Scotty's a wild dude. So he kept it on one side like twice as long as it was supposed to be. Well, he ended up getting, oh gosh, what is it called when your skin dies from cold? He ended up getting frostbite on his love handle. And it was kind of funny because he kept, he did one side longer than the other. And so he had like no love handle on one side. So he was trying to get caught up on the other side because he wanted to see if it worked. It's pretty funny. But so he gets this frostbite, and it was bad. We're like, dude, you might need to really get this checked out. And so somebody gave us a red light panel, and 30 minutes after the first red light session, it looked better than he started 30 minutes ago. We could tell a difference.
No way.
And dude, he just stayed on that red light. He had it healed up in like a month.
Seriously?
And yeah, you could just tell like every time he would use it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, frostbite. And because like rotting skin, man.
Yeah.
It's like dead. It was awful.
Gnarly.
So that's kind of what got us, onto the red light. We'd read about it, and now you can. I mean, there's a lot of great studies, on its effects.
For sure.
But I mean, I kind of, like I said, I got the panel over there.
Yeah.
In the pool house, and I have one in Mexico, and it's great for sunburns too. If you ever get a sunburn, go into a red light.
Really?
And it'll drastically drop that sunburn.
Interesting. That's amazing.
Yeah. So are you still using it?
Yeah, I have like a pad at home, PEMF red light pad, and then the other ones are sauna and ice bath. Those are the best.
But do you like the dry sauna or infrared?
Dry.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, dry's way better.
We're building one. Part of the renovation at the house. It's going to have a steam room.
Yeah.
But I'm also getting it's a dry sauna, infrared sauna combo.
Okay.
We're going to build it like, original. It's got Himalayan salt on the walls, and I've got a 5-foot red light panel in there as well. So my idea
So
is
you're getting it all done.
I can sit and get the infrared, I can get the dry, I can get the red light, and get the Himalayan salt walls.
That's amazing.
It's going to be like a 4-in-1 or whatever.
Let's go.
But I'm totally into all that stuff too, man. It's like,
it's incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And people, you ever do like NAD IVs?
I haven't done that, no.
You got to try NAD.
Okay.
If you want to come down to Mexico, we'll drive you down. And they're pretty expensive in the U.S. They're probably between $500 to $1,000 an IV. Okay. And we make it in our lab, so it's all fresh.
Oh, wow.
And it's really good for ATP, the energy in your cells.
Okay,
It resets your circadian rhythm, sleep, so it's just fresh, strong. You'll go to bed a little earlier, but you'll wake up earlier too, and it'll light you up.
That's amazing.
Have you heard of NAD?
I haven't. No.
Oh man, yeah. So we'll get you on some NAD, and because we're right there, dude.
I know.
You can just come down, and we'll take care of you and kind of get you all set up.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. I love that whole word. Especially I think too, we're talking just about culture a little bit, like the health of our culture, the mental health. Little things like that go a long way too.
Yeah.
Like sauna, ice, like I think exposing yourself to those stressful environments, we're very like, I mean, talk about entitlement, but also we're just so coddled in our world.
Yeah, man.
You know, they made our latte wrong. Like that's that entitlement, right? Like what? They put the wrong milk in. It's like, I think that goes a long way for why we're having so many issues culturally too. And that it's like just putting yourself exposing like sauna and ice bath. It's like, yeah, you got to do the work. You got to endure the heat. No one enjoys it in the moment. It's like, no, but you push through it. No one enjoys just going into the ice. Like you kind of start to crave it after a while, but initially it's like, man, you got to sit in here and endure. But like little wins like that, stacking those wins of pushing yourself, making a commitment, right? Commitments, they're not convenient, but when you honor a commitment, builds trust within yourself. So it's like, you can do those little things that are difficult. It'll help you in whatever way and just, I think, give you that mental stability that a lot of people are searching for.
Well, society is really raising kind of weak people.
Yeah.
And like you said, coddled. That's exactly what's
Is that
what's
by
happening.
design,
like
though? Just,
I think it is by design.
Yeah,
I mean,
unfortunately.
when everybody gets a trophy,
Yeah.
it's like, I would have never wanted a trophy if I didn't win something.
Yeah, what? Like, yeah.
Everybody doesn't get a trophy. And life isn't fair. That's kind of the fun part about it. It's not fair, so we get to create our own, success.
Yeah.
And I was reading a study the other day. It said 49% of kids in high school have a mental illness.
Oh, my goodness.
And if you think about that, there's no way it's that high. I mean, they're overdiagnosing, over-medicating. It's like, take a pill for this.
Well, yeah, exactly.
They don't want kids or people to actually have to deal with life and overcome those adversities. So we're being coddled and weak.
100%. And I mean, as a kid too, it's like, thankfully my parents never took me to a doctor to get ADHD pills, but it's like, once I got, like I said, in my senior year of high school to Woodward, and I'm only doing schoolwork for 2 hours a day and I'm skating for 8.
Yeah.
Shifted everything, right?
Of
It's
course.
like, young men, kids, teenagers, boys are gonna have some testosterone. They can't be locked in a chair for 8 hours a day
way.
and expecting to use their brain in that way. It's like, we got to use our brain in the creative way of skateboarding. Okay, I want to learn a new trick. I'm going to put my time and focus that energy there. It's actually really healthy for me, whether the specialists, professionals, or whatever think so or not, and tell me I need to be in a classroom. It was like, once that door opened, it like I said, that's what developed self-discipline at a higher frequency in my personal life. And again, I think when you're trying to, everyone learns different. When you're trying to teach, thousands of kids the exact same way, it's just not the way to do it. Like, you've got to, everyone's unique. Everyone's different. How are they going to thrive? I chose a skateboard. Other people choose fighting. Other people choose, endurance sports. Everyone chooses something different. Arts, creativity, music. What is it you're choosing? And then put that discipline in.
Yeah, no, that's what it is. And, just think, like, both of us probably could have been, I give the air quotes, put on Adderall in school.
Yeah.
And especially with how, it seems like they just want to give it to all the kids now.
Yeah.
He's got, and there are some kids, I'm not saying that
right.
it's bad across the board, but I think it's pretty undeniable that it's, it's definitely overprescribed. And
let's look at something else first. Let's get the kid outside for a few hours. Let's get him running. Let's get him uncomfortable, and then we'll see. Yeah.
So you had problems sitting through 8 hours of school too?
Oh yeah.
So bad. It's just like you're sitting there and you've got to...
And you can't even talk.
No, I know.
Yeah. You got all this energy and you're just trying to suppress it. And it's like, no wonder people have mental illness at that point. You're like not able to do what you need to.
Yeah, well, and you think too, like, you're talking about coddling people. So is it by design? Well, when you lock kids up for 8 to 10 hours for school and you tell them that they are oppressed or marginalized or have a disadvantage.
Yeah.
And you allow them to then feel sorry for themselves and their perceived situation. It's no wonder. And then, and I'm all for therapy and those type of things, I to a point. But then you tell them to talk about all the bad things and let's keep repeating all these things that are going on with me. You're creating these, very unhappy, unhealthy people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty wild. It's almost like they want people to be
They do.
failures.
For sure. And I have a pastor friend that says it like this: you nurse it, curse it, and rehearse it. That's what they do. They're nursing the situation, then they're cursing it because they're repeating it and saying, oh, I am. And then that's just going to be your reality that you keep rehearsing day in and day out. Yeah, and these kids are depressed.
That's a good way to put it. And so you're a Christian as well.
Yes,
right?
sir. Absolutely.
Yeah. So how has that worked within the skateboarding community? Have you been a Christian your whole life?
I grew up in a Christian home, grew up Southern Baptist, good old boy.
Nice.
But it's funny because I always talk about too, and part of sharing my faith, it's like, that was kind of the church situation. I had incredible parents. Like my dad always had the Bible on his desk and would be in the Word. And then my mom would pray with us before dinner, before bed kind of thing. So got instilled those values. And then when it came to the church setting though, I really didn't like the hypocrisy I saw just because, I'm the reason there's still to this day a no skateboarding sign at the church. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, you're blocking people from coming here. A lot of my friends stopped coming to church because they're told they can't skate and getting yelled at by the old people, that are just, again, kind of outdated in the religious ways of it when it's like, and that's what I truly like to dispel as well. It's like, people always say, oh, you're religious. And I'm like, I had a conversation with someone not too long ago and they're like, oh, but you're religious. And I'm like, no, I have a relationship with God. And then they said, oh, but you're practicing. And I'm like, well, I'm in a marriage with my wife. I'm not practicing marriage.
Right.
I have a relationship with my wife.
Yep.
Same thing with God. I have a relationship with God. I have encounters with him. I pray to him. It's like, I seek him as my heavenly Father, and that just changes the game. It's not about doing the right thing. And that's what I saw a lot growing up was people would go there, say the right things or whatever, but then throughout the week they're living totally different.
Right.
And that kind of turned me off to that style of it. Thankfully, it didn't turn me away from God because I was reading the Bible for myself, and God has a plan to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future, to do more than you could ask or imagine. And I'm like, man, if I really believe God has a plan for me with my skating, then I've got to trust it. I got to go. And that's one of the biggest prayers when I was moving to California. I was terrified to leave everything that was comfortable. And that's kind of when it shifted from just maybe living on my parents' faith to my own, like, all right, God, I need to do life with you. I need to have that relationship with you, and started believing, started praying, and just really developing and building that relationship with God for myself. And some days you have a great relationship, some days you don't, but ultimately he's always there and seeking you when you turn back to him. And it's kept me grounded. It's kept me passionate and really keeps me going. A lot of people, like even at this last event, like whether they believe or not, I think at first it came off like kind of, oh, he's just one of those Christians, and you kind of get put in a box. But it's like over time you see who's the person there that's showing up. And more so than anything, it's like, I don't want to preach anything I'm not personally practicing. I'm not trying to yell at people and tell them they need to believe this or that. It's like, I'm there to love on people, to encourage people, to build people up. That's what I feel. Jesus calls us to be the salt and to be the light. And that's what I feel I'm called to do in my industry of influence, in skateboarding. I'm there to be the salt. I'm there to pull out the flavor, right? You put salt on a steak, it's pulling flavor out of that thing to where it tastes so good, your mouth is watering. So what are those experiences that I can come into and bring more flavor out of just by showing up, my presence being there as a believer? And same, to be the light. People are oppressed. People are depressed. They are walking in darkness. And if I can bring just a word of encouragement to be the light or help pull them out of that darkness, that's what I'm there to do. And so it's been cool to see that transition and people respect it. Again, whether they believe it or not, they respect it. And that's what matters.
How often do you pray?
All the time.
All the time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I was raised Church of Christ.
Okay.
A little different than Southern Baptist, but not that much.
Yeah.
And kind of strict. And I kind of moved away from my faith in my 20s.
Okay.
Got, let's say, further from God. But as my 30s hit, now I'll be 43 next month. The last couple of years, actually, COVID was a turning point too, because it was pretty obvious to me that a bunch of BS was going on, and we weren't being told the truth. And it was really, and I think this is why you're seeing more and more people kind of talk about God and not be afraid to talk about Christianity
Yeah.
is because it's obvious there's good versus evil right now.
100%.
I mean, we know what's evil, man.
Yeah.
We just know it. Now, someone doesn't have to be religious or believe in Jesus to see that.
Right.
And they're like, huh. And so, and as you start kind of digging in, you see a lot of this stuff was talked about in the Bible.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of these things. And people could say, well, throughout history, they've always thought this was the time, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. But, I mean, that aside, there's a lot of evil out there right now.
And we're calling evil good as a culture.
That's right, man.
Yeah.
And we're calling evil good. And they're trying to convince us that us calling the evil, we're actually the evil ones.
We're the evil ones.
Yeah, you're bad.
We're the harsh
You're
ones.
just trying to put people down, or you have hate in your heart. You're like, no, I don't judge. I'm not going to judge that person at all, but I don't have to agree with what they're doing. And for instance, I mean, I don't think that men can get pregnant. I think it's pretty obvious. Men can't get pregnant.
Biologically.
Right.
Yeah.
But they try to suggest that somehow I hate trans people because of this. Like, no, I don't. I'm just stating a fact.
Right.
Biological fact.
Biological fact.
Yeah. Have you seen that the entire time you've been, a Christian, or are you seeing it more and more now, the good versus evil?
I think I'm seeing it more now. I think, like you said, COVID woke a lot of people up. And I think what it did more than anything, which is beautiful, it weeded out those who say they believe from those who actually do. And you had to put your faith in something real, because you'd see people that were like just obeying whatever they were told. And you're like, wait, but don't you believe in the higher power, in God, in his truth, in his word? And you're settling to the patterns of the world, right? And it's like, I love that verse. Don't conform to the patterns of the world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that you're asking how much I pray. That's every day, because, man, I need a renewed mind. If we're living in this world, I don't want to be conformed to the patterns of it. Conformity, and this is what they're doing, conformity will isolate you, but transformation will liberate you. True transformation from the inside out. And again, that's what's so different about Christianity from other religions. It doesn't say, oh, put on this suit and now you're accepted into the kingdom. It says, hey, no, let's change your heart. You have a broken heart. Let's heal that thing up. And because you believe, it changes how you behave. Where every other religion, they want to change the behavior to show that you believe. It's like, no, let's get you believing in good, in faith, in truth, in hope, in love. And that's going to change how you behave. And that's what's really shifted it in my own personal life. Through my journey, following Jesus and experiencing that. But yeah, I think that conformity that you're seeing people just bow to, people are more isolated than ever from that conformity.
Absolutely.
But those that are awake and believing and passionate about their life, that are transformed by a renewed mind of what's going on, being able to see that good and evil, I think, COVID heightened that massively just because of the oppression they were trying to do. And all the other things too. It wasn't even just COVID. There's just so much that's been going on that you're like, there's a different authority over this. It's not just, the physical. There's some demonic stuff happening, oppression happening, and you're seeing people just take that pill left and right, and it's at their detriment, because those people, unfortunately, that are calling you so oppressive for the way you think,
right,
they don't have any contentment in their heart.
No.
And that's what's really harsh. They want you to agree with everything they say. If you disagree with one little thing, it's like you're out.
Yeah, you get put in this box as a homophobe or transphobe, or
and it's like, no.
And we saw it actually throughout, because for Black Lives Matters came along, and of course I support Black people. And,
100%.
It's ridiculous to think that we wouldn't.
Right.
But if you don't support Black Lives Matters because you've looked into the organization, realized it's a communist organization, then somehow you're a racist.
Right.
It's like either or. If you don't think that biological men should play in female sports, you're a transphobe. If you don't think that, I mean, it's wild, and it's not true, but that's where it really is. Good versus evil. I mean, we can see it every single day, and there is this, even in politics, man. And you can see, they're pushing an evil agenda.
Yep.
And they're wanting you to believe that you're the evil one, and anyone that doesn't agree with them is the evil one. And that's where it is. It's by design.
Yep.
What was that, Warren, what was the fashion company that I Yeah. So,
Oh yeah.
did you hear about the Balenciaga thing with the pictures of the children and the?
Yeah, my wife was showing me some of that, talking about that.
So I launched that.
Okay.
It went viral.
Yeah.
I screenshotted a bunch of pictures and of their executives' Instagram page, like torturing kids. Like it's art. It's art, you know? And then showing that, they basically had a ruling about pornography from the Supreme Court in a picture promoting Balenciaga, but with children. So it's this documents on the table.
Oh.
And it went super, super viral. And I got death threats and all sorts of things. But, that is good versus evil.
Yeah.
I prayed about it a lot. Like, hey, God,
Yeah.
I'm going up against Satan right now. Please
Right,
protect
yeah.
me. And it was kind of scary. I'm not going to lie. But
I can imagine.
I mean, you got to if we have a chance to expose the evil, especially towards children, I think it's our job to do that.
100%. Absolutely. God bless you for doing that, man. That's incredible. Seriously.
Well,
and it's at the end of the day, you're like, it's worth it.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
them. Yeah. And wow.
Absolutely. And the sexualization of children right now.
Just yeah.
Do you have any kids?
I have, a son, 14-month-old.
Okay. So you got a new kid, and, teaching our children, how to stand up for what's right, even when the mob might come after you.
Right.
I think it's our duty.
100%. Absolutely.
What are your thoughts about raising a child right now in the way kind of society is?
In the way a society is, I feel called. We actually named him Oliver Knox, and his name actually has more of a prophetic meaning than I even realized. Knox from obviously Knoxville, Tennessee. Always loved the name Oliver, but if you look at Oliver, it means the olive branch, bringer of peace. And then Knox is like of the mountains and is kind of like one of those people that would sit at the top of the mountain and watch and protect. And so, peace from protection. And I feel called just to, one, lead by example. I think, again, the generation, my parents did amazing with what they did. And the only thing that I wish maybe I had more of was just time with my dad, and we see each other still now and then. Like, thankfully, parents are still together. They're still healthy and happy. But I just realized with my son, the thing I can do most is lead by example, but bring him along for the ride.
Nice.
So I made that conscious decision. I think the first 2 weeks he was born, I had, we were doing a shoot for Nitro Circus, and I was like, well, all right, Gab, get in the car, little man, let's go. And you just bring them along. And I want to do that as much as possible. I try and bring them traveling as much as possible. And again, just leading by example, showing vulnerability through, I don't have it all figured out. I'm not a perfect dad. And I had that revelation in prayer. I don't need to be a perfect dad. I just need to be a present dad and really be present with my son, with my family. And eventually that's going to, the values that I have, I believe that the values that we carry are just so powerful, and really knowing what those core values are. I want to be a man of faith. I want to be a man of hope. I want to be a faithful man. I want to be an honest man. I want to be a man of integrity, of discipline. Because what I realized in my personal life, and this translates into how I want to raise my son, it's like what I do is going to change on a daily basis. Some days I skate, some days I speak. Every day I'm a husband, every day I'm a father. But who I am will influence how I skate.
Yeah.
Who I am will influence how I am in my marriage. It'll influence how I carry a conversation. It'll encourage, when I'm speaking to students at schools, it'll show up in how I speak. Who I am will, not what I do. And again, to that identity point, everyone puts their identity in what they do, but that's going to be a short window and it's not long. So really decide who it is that you want to become. And that'll influence everything that you're doing. Because who wouldn't want to be honest in their job, disciplined in their job, disciplined in their marriage? It just shifts that whole culture. And I think that's what's going to make a shift in our culture is once we have these ideas of who we truly are, what that identity is. And again, I look at the Bible. Who's God calling me to be? Time and time again, it says, be strong, be courageous. He wouldn't be telling us to be strong and courageous if there was nothing scary that we're looking at in our life. But he's reminding you over and over, be strong, be courageous. What does strength look like? Well, strength means being honest. It means telling the truth. All right, I need to be strong. All right, what does courage look like? It means going in the face of adversity, not knowing for 10 years if that trick's going to work or not.
Right.
Be courageous to give it another go. And again, that's how I want to lead by example and just pursue the passions in my life so that I can show him, hey, little man, it was not easy, but look at this beautiful journey.
Yeah, one of the things with Christianity that I think is kind of underappreciated is, at least for me, the relief of being able to pray and just trust God's going to do whatever he really wants.
Yeah.
To me, it takes a lot of stress out of a lot of these heavier things. Do you experience that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you kind of release it. And it's like a lot of people are hanging on and they don't know where to go. And it's like, yeah, prayer is so powerful because, man, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I'm believing for this, God. But once you get to that point of, I trust whatever you have is going to be better. And you just release into that trust. And again, it's not a passive trust either, though. Because I think a lot of people, I'm just trusting the Lord, but you're eating McDonald's. You're trusting the Lord to heal your health, but you're eating McDonald's, you're drinking Diet Coke. Okay, it's like, no, God, because I trust in you, I'm going to go eat a nutrient-dense meal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drink a sugar drink. I'm going to drink, water. And I think that's where, again, we've got to align that faith with our works and actions.
Yeah, absolutely. You got married a few years ago, right?
Yep.
So how did you meet your wife?
That's a crazy story. And again, I just got to bring it back to God because God's so good. It was kind of spoken over me that the Lord is going to bring you your wife. And I didn't really know what that meant. But again, one of the things I felt in a time of prayer was God was asking me, all right, you're believing me for your wife, but who do you want to be as a husband? And I felt that gut check. Ooh, who do I want to be as a husband? What do you mean? I want this. I had my list, right? I'm praying for my list of wife. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess it's on me to become the man I need to be to meet her. And again, it's like the law of attraction, everyone says. It's really just reaping and sowing. If I sow the man I need to be, I'm going to reap the harvest of the woman of my dreams. And so I just started sowing into that, building that faithfulness, building that honesty, more integrity in my life. And then ended up, it was during COVID, so I'm not traveling like I normally do. And usually I'm traveling more than I'm home, so it was hard to date at that time in season. So I had no choice but to be there. Moved into the house and it had a back property and had no idea I had a neighbor. So there's all these fruit trees in the backyard and I just walk out one day to grab an orange and see her under the avocado tree. Taking the wax off her surfboard and she's just like, howdy neighbor. And again, I'm like, what? I have a neighbor? And she's like, good to meet you. And we joke and say we had love at first conversation because she said in that first conversation, everything happened. I just believe everything happens for a reason. You're in my life for a reason. I just don't know why yet. And then I think a few years later, now we know why she was there.
That's awesome. So she's a surfer?
Yeah. So
did she know about you before you started dating?
That's the crazy thing. So she's actually cousins with Lindsay, who's Travis's wife.
Oh, okay.
So in the Nitro world, but somehow our paths never crossed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And so that was what year did you meet her?
2020.
Okay. And then you got married
April 2020. We got married 2021, September. Yep.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny how things kind of work out like that.
It's amazing.
You walk out the back door and there your wife is who you've been praying about.
And believing for. Yeah, it's crazy. It's amazing.
Now you also have a skateboard company.
Yeah.
Tell me about the skateboard company.
Yeah, so Reliance Skateboards, that's the brand that I'm riding for. We're partnered up. All our boards are made in the U.S., which is awesome too. Just believe in that as much as we can, build our own economy rather than others. But whole nother convo there. Yeah, that company actually started in 2003 and I was riding for them. And then the opportunity came in 2016 to kind of partner and buy into the company. And so it's been rad. And kind of that's just the mission of the brand, is to be the light in the industry. The skate industry, there's a lot of, your graphic on your skateboard says a lot about the person, right? And so for me as a believer, one of my favorite graphics I have is the lighthouse. It's got the cross in it and it's just like a storm all around it, but the light's always going to shine no matter what storms come. And so again, it's not just to kind of Bible bump you, but it's just to like, this is what I believe, this is who I am. And we got one with a lion on it, which is awesome. And again, just the lion shows strength, it shows courage. And so how can we influence through our products and graphics?
Yeah, how's the company kind of grown since you've been a part of it?
It's been awesome just seeing it grow. And kind of one of the things that we have as well is like an ambassadorship program. So where we're able to kind of give one of the cool things is like we have a guy in Texas who runs a skate night every week, and he's bringing pizza to the park, and we basically have a deal with him where he gets the boards at cost, and whatever proceeds he makes goes back into sewing into drinks and food so he can go be a blessing at his skate park and do a Bible study with the kids. And so that's kind of been a really cool thing that we helped launch. And then we also have a campaign, Boards Beyond Borders, where we'll take certain times of the year, we'll take a portion of the percentages and get them back into products. So we're, taking boards down to Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and all over and just blessing kids.
Oh, that's awesome. So you've gotten to travel a lot, obviously, with the Nitro Circus. And now, and so do you take kind of your, skateboard kind of company or stuff along with you to pass out flyers and stuff? Is that
always? Yeah, we've always got stuff going on. I'm actually heading to Big Sky, Montana tomorrow for It's Go Skateboarding Day for an event, and so we got a whole bunch of gear. We're going to stoke out the community and do a little demo, and I love that stuff. Like, as cool as it is to be like, we did Bridgestone Arena a few years ago with Nitro, and be in these big arena venues. I love, again, just meeting people where they are. Going to the local parks, because I was that kid at the local park, and I remember Tony Hawk came to Knoxville Skate Park, and just what an impact that left on me, getting to skate with him, see him skate what I got to skate every day, and I try and do that as much as I can on tour. So as cool as the big arena moments are, it's like those moments are just as cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some of your goals in the future? Because you think about, from 18 to 30, in skateboarding, you've accomplished as much as, just about anybody can.
Yeah.
I mean, you're at the top of the industry. You've met all your heroes. They respect you. You're friends with them. You've got a great family now. What are the next 10-year goals for you?
Yeah, the next goals are, I really feel just that drive of, I want to squeeze as much juice as I can out of this body while it's in its prime and its peak of competitive skateboarding. So trying to hit as many competitions as I can, continue to push the limits with Nitro. I have definitely a couple of new skateboarding goals like never been done's or world records that I want to achieve. So just kind of looking for the right partnerships to come in to help fund all those projects and make them possible. And then, just kind of continue what I'm doing. It's been really cool just partnering up as well with I really feel that impact in the schools and the local youth groups to go encourage this message, because they're being told a lot of stuff all day long.
Right.
And I really feel like I can bring in truth to help set those people free. And, we were in Maui a couple weeks ago, and there's such a hunger on Maui for truth right now. Because everything that happened last year from the fire and just deception, there's such a hunger. And I actually got to speak in the school, and the kids were fired up.
Yeah, nice.
And I'm like, that's where we need to be.
What do you say? Like, so when you're going to the different schools and speaking, what's your message?
Message is, as much as I can, some schools limit you from speaking about faith. That one, I had the open door. So I just really spoke into that conformity. Because when you're a kid, all you want to do is be accepted.
Right.
But again, conformity will isolate you. Transformation liberates you. Who is it that you're called to become, and who is it you want to be? So I really speak about, like, what are those values you want? Like, this is your time right now to build. And so I use how I integrated those values in my life. And I'm like, that's how we can truly see a change in this world, is by that young generation believing in themselves, believing in the dream. Like you said, the system right now is telling them to be oppressed, to be entitled, but to be like, there's no way out. I'm going to be a victim. No, not at all. You're the creator. You're the director of your movie, your life. It's the movie. Go direct it however you want. It took me being passionate about skateboarding to create the life I wanted to live. But man, it's possible. Was it easy? Heck no. Was it worth it? 1,000 million times yes. 100%. And I want to share that with them, because it's like, man, it is possible for you. And I believe if we see more people truly passionate about life, a lot of these problems are going to just go away.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. That's it. It's like, we've got to bring passion to people's lives. The messaging, we have to be really careful what we allow ourselves to hear. Yeah. Because the messaging, to me, even by well-intended people, I feel like most of the people that are, saying, oh, we got to take care of these oppressed groups, the marginalized, I think they mean well. Right. But imagine because I wasn't raised with a lot of money. And if I would have believed that I was oppressed, or that I couldn't work hard to succeed, if I would have believed that, I wouldn't be successful. So my concern is, now it's so prevalent in society that we keep telling people that, oh, the world is against you.
Yeah.
My concern is that people actually, those kids believe it.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's the thing too, and they're trying to prove their point more too with inflation and things, right? Like,
Right.
oh, it really is against you because now you're not able to get ahead of it,
Right.
And so they're systematically doing it. They're trying to poison the brain first, the belief system, and then on the other side, they're doing all this stuff, and it's really making it hard. But again, it's like all things are possible. And again, as a believer, I got faith that the favor of God is going to shadow me like a shield. It
Right.
says the favor surrounds you like a shield. That shield doesn't only protect and provide, it also forges a path in front. So once you live under that, and you're not conforming to whatever this world is saying, what is that word in your heart? What is God speaking to you?
Yeah.
Go after that thing. And again, time and time again, you're going to go through those dark seasons, but you're going to enjoy the ride a lot more. And it's going to be worth it to try. And I think that's the thing with a lot of kids. They don't want to try right now, but it's like, just give it a go. You'll probably surprise yourself. And again, like my story, I was surprised by the time I was able to move out to Woodward, surprised when I got on Nitro Circus. It's just continuing to surprise myself in these cool ways. And I think that's what life's all about.
No, for sure. Why do you think, you talk about the truth a lot. Mm-hmm. Why do you think people are being, I'm going to call it, programmed into thinking in a negative way that doesn't serve them? What do you think, like, what's the plan? What's the goal of all that?
Of the negativity?
Yeah.
The goal of the negativity is to keep people powerless. It's to keep people from living and passionately pursuing their dreams so others have more power over them. Mm. They want you to be oppressed. They want you to be depressed. They want you on all kinds of things. But again, and that's where they're super smart with how they do it. The system, the way it is, and it's unfortunate, but people, I think offense a lot of times has to do with that too, right? It's like people are offended in the way you think about, a biological male competing in a women's event.
Yeah.
They're offended by that.
Right.
But here's the thing. The truth is only offensive when you're lying to yourself. When you know what's true, but you're lying to yourself that it's not, you've bitten that lie. You're calling evil good. You're calling this lie truth. If you believe a lie long enough, it becomes the truth to you. That's why you hear everyone saying, oh, I'm just living my truth. That's why Jesus is so rad. I am the way, the truth, the life. What a bold proclamation. What an offensive proclamation.
Right.
And even the religious people at that time, they were so offended by that proclamation.
Yeah.
Wait, you're the way, the truth, the life? What?
Yeah.
It's like, that's offensive to hear. But again, the truth, it's only going to be offensive if you're lying within yourself and with what, the way you're perceiving the world. And so I always joke and say, well, if you have the material to build a fence, because that's what a fence does, it puts a fence between me and you, we're not going to connect anymore because I'm offended by the way you think. So I'm not connected with you. But if you have the material to build a fence, why not build a bridge? Transform that thing. You've got the materials right there. Yeah. Okay, what can we agree on? And they don't want you to agree on anything. That's why they're causing so much division to the point where our country's unrecognizable.
It is, man. It's happened pretty fast, too.
Really
like
fast.
5 years.
Yeah.
5 years ago. So I'm on the board of an anti-sex trafficking nonprofit. And I was on the board of another one about a year ago. And when we started, there was no way that I could ever imagine people would call that a conspiracy or look down upon it as, these crazy right wingers, and all of these things. But it became a political issue where now you have one group saying that anybody who believes in that as a QAnon supporter, I don't even know how to find QAnon. I don't really even know what it is.
Yeah.
But, and that kind of shows you how far society's come to where, those that are trying, my partners and I funded a documentary called It's Happening Right Here, showing what's happening in the United States. So we've been, passionate about stopping this, or at least shining a light on those type of things for a long time. But somehow along the way, that even became political.
Right.
And it's just happened so fast. I feel like we've lost, in many ways, our way as a country really fast.
Yeah.
Has that been your experience? What do you think is going on? Like, who's behind this?
I definitely don't know I do know who's behind. It's demonic agendas, honestly. It's like division, right? The Bible says where there is unity, God commands his blessing. When we're united, when we're all of one sound harmony, man, there's a blessing. And we've seen it in our country. We've lived through some beautiful seasons of harmony and unity, and we've been blessed because of that. But again, too much comfort can cause that complacency. I think the church got silent. They didn't speak on things they should have been and holding true to the values of good and evil. We start to blur the lines. Again, you believe a lie long enough, it becomes truth to you. So you're seeing these people fall, not have that backbone and standing on truth. But we got to defend the truth. Even if it is offensive. Yeah, some people might be offended, but man, on the other side of the offense, once they get over themselves, once they get over that, it opens up the opportunity. The truth will set you free. So I believe for the people that are out there seeking what the truth really is, you will be set free from it. And again, I think it's just powerful, and that's what we can do on the daily basis, is to just, one, seek to live the truth, know the truth, be the truth, honor the truth, speak the truth, and be okay with however that's approached. But I think in this time, I think we need to come together as a country, set aside the differences, but really look inward of like, what's going on? Like, let the light come in to shine what these issues really are. And that way we can, build something more beautiful and get back to, the country we all want to be proud of. Proud to be an American.
That's right.
I am. And that's why it's cool. Like, one of my biggest partnerships and sponsorships is this company called Public Square. Not sure if you're familiar, but it's America's Marketplace. Basically, it was birthed out of COVID. If you wanted to go get a coffee, go grab dinner, and not be judged on whether you could or couldn't based on, some sort of document you had or didn't have. So that's how it got birthed. But then it really turned into, okay, where are all these corporations? Where's their money going? Wait, we're buying Starbucks all day long, but what are they doing with the money? So now, one, it's supporting mom and pop coffee shops. Real diversity is like, we're going to go get coffee here. We're going to go get a burrito there because they crush the coffee. They crush the burrito, like supporting those that support you and your country, and really just now trying to like vote with your dollar is what it's about. So it's Public Square, America's Marketplace, and it's kind of really become an awesome platform. And, they support everything I'm doing. They supported the Nitro Circus tour. They just signed Bethany Hamilton as well. So when she kind of spoke out, she got dropped from her biggest sponsor for not wanting biological men to compete in surfing. And so her biggest sponsor dropped her, and they came in and stepped up. So it's cool to see them supporting, and that's my thing. It's like, people see you passionately living your dream, it's going to inspire them. And that's what we're trying to do with Public Square, and our partnership is tell the story of living that dream and, encourage the next generation.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I think more and more people are starting to stand up against it because, 4 years ago when it first came out, like a lot of the stuff was really starting to snowball with COVID, people were afraid to kind of get put in a box. Because nobody wants to be seen, for instance, with Black Lives Matters. No one wants to be seen as racist because we're not racist.
Right.
Like, we're adamantly against that. But, if you don't support this, you're that. And, now, that's why I speak about it so openly. I don't care. I know, who I am.
Right.
I know.
Well, now you're seeing what they did with the funds too.
Yeah, exactly. They bought their mansions and and all of those things. And that's just one example out of many. Even the biological men in female sport things, at first, they were saying, well, you're not following the science. So they try to say scientifically, there's no difference, between a biological man and a biological woman. If the biological man that's wanting to be a woman takes these hormone suppressors, like, no, you still have bone density, hand size, for fighting. There was a female fighter that broke a woman's face. It's like, how is it fair? I mean, we've joked before. I thought about making a comeback as a female fighter. I would be the greatest female fighter of all time. At 43 years old, I think I could come back and be the UFC women's champion. And if they don't like it, if it's offensive if someone doesn't agree that I should be able to do that. Right. But that's how ridiculous it is. There is a difference between men and women. And but that is the evil. That's why that's the evil. I mean, there is. I just have to say, there's that indoctrination to it as well. Like, I mean, even within the gay community, it's like, if you're a kid, and this is what they're telling kids now, oh, have you had a fun experience with a boy? To another boy? Oh, well, maybe you're gay. No, we just had fun playing at the park together. We don't even need to think about that. We're 7 years old. Exactly. I shouldn't even know what that means at that age, but that's what the level, teachers are being paid to indoctrinate that now. And that is a crime. And I believe, like,
the truth will set you free, and it will set people free. Eventually, people are going to have to pay for what they've done.
Yeah.
Can't hide it forever. And
when we just, got to keep telling the truth as we see it, courageously speak the truth every day. That's part of my prayer, is that God allows me to courageously speak the truth. Please let me courageously speak the truth.
And speaking the truth in love, because that's where people have that hard time and they've used it against in the past. Well, the church is so, oppressive, or the church is so judgmental. And it's like, we're not doing it to judge you. We're doing it because we love and care about you. And we know you're not content or happy with yourself. This is what we found to find contentment and peace within ourselves.
Right.
This is what we want to bring, because, man, and again, it's like there's too many rules to keep up with. How many different groups do I have to support for you guys to accept me?
Yeah.
You get too tired of that.
Well, another thing is I always ask God to help me do the right thing.
Yeah.
What is the right thing? Because I don't know sometimes. You're like, I'm dealing with something right now. I'm like, okay, what is the right thing to do?
Yeah.
How do I do it in the right way where it makes sense?
Right.
And, instead of, where society, it's what's politically correct is right, or what's the image of it is right. It's like doing the right thing. To me, it brings happiness, because in the end, I know that I'm always trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And from a relationship standpoint, which to me, relationships are one of the most important things. How many relationships do you have? Like, do people trust you?
Yeah.
If you're always trying to do the right thing, the amount of trust and goodwill that you bring by that, even if sometimes doing the right thing doesn't benefit you at the moment, and that's not that instant gratification, but the long run, trust, if people trust you, I mean, you can get anything done, that you want. If you build trust with people, it's like, oh, they trust you to do X, Y, and Z. I trust them. We can, together we can build whatever there is.
Yeah.
And I think people are afraid sometimes, to do the right thing.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
Yeah, and that's where, like you're saying, it comes with that praying for God for the strength for that, the Holy Spirit to give you that conviction, and just, it's amazing when you open yourself up to it. Like even today, like I said, I was skating around the streets of Nashville, and I normally skate ramps. I'm not really a street skater, but it was fun to like push myself in that limit and hit this little rail that was there. And I had this encounter with a man. It was kind of in the park, and I don't know if he was homeless or not, but you could tell he was definitely struggling with something. And he's watching me do this, and I'm, rolling on the ground, struggling to get this trick. And then after I landed it, I went and knuckle touched him, prayed with him, and just got to encourage him. So it's that same thing. Man. It's like just being available to believe in people. And I think that's what people need now more than ever. It was like, I just started speaking and I kind of heard this man's story, and I was just like, dude, I trust, you're a man of faith. I know it's in there somewhere, but God's going to show up in radical ways in this next season of your life. And you're going to be unrecognizable in 6 months. And just speaking that life into somebody too, and just loving on them, right? Speak the truth in love. Like, don't coddle the situation, like call that out, because they're better than that, because they have more on the inside of them, and they're living under what God's called them to rule over. It's like we are called to have that spirit of self-control. We have that ability within to control ourselves to a higher level so that we can experience the life that we're intended for. And again, sometimes you need someone to be that person to speak that out of you. Man, I'm offended by that, but I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Like, no offense unless that offense will cause you to change.
Yeah, man.
Because that's what, again, we need change in our country. We need to be offended.
Yeah.
I love getting offended because it causes me to grow, and again, that entitlement of our country, we get offended, but then we get bitter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's where we have it so good for so long.
So good, yeah.
I mean, it's like, when you're upset about the latte, you have a pretty good country. Because that's what you're really getting upset about. There's people all over the world that
they never even had a latte.
They never even had a latte.
Heard of it.
They're dealing with war. They're dealing with the being in camps. They're dealing with starvation and all these things. We have it so good in America, and even the whole racial thing. Because I've lived in 4 different countries, and the United States is by far the least racist country I've been to.
Wow.
I mean, dude, we have such a diverse country.
Yeah.
I mean, it's extremely diverse. And, if you were around someone who was a racist, you wouldn't want to be around. You'd be like, hey, we stay away from those type of things.
Yeah.
We don't, it's not okay. It's not okay. But, a lot of other countries, I mean, Colombia, and my girlfriend's from Colombia. You know, they don't like black people there.
Wow.
I mean, it's very open. Mexico, same way.
Really?
Brazil,
Interesting.
same way. And so, you know, we don't know that because people grow up here and they get used to living in America and being told, oh, well, this is racist and it's the patriarchy that's causing this. And, you know, you have all of these things. But the reality is the United States is probably the least racist country in the world.
Yeah.
It's not a big thing. Are there racists? Yes, sure. But we want to stay away from those people. I don't surround myself. I don't even hear it anymore.
No.
It's not my group by any means.
No.
But if you were to ask, you know, kids going to school right now, it's like, oh, it's the white patriarchy, or oh, it's the, you know, it's.
And then you got to feel bad about yourself for the way you were born.
Yeah.
That's no way to live.
Dude, it's
like,
such BS.
yeah.
There's no way. That's the thing. Then you got,
Yeah.
That's exactly right. But once you see it, you can
Yeah.
start pointing it out, like what you just said. Then you got to feel bad about for the way you're like,
Yeah.
no way.
There's way too many things they're trying to make me feel bad about. I'm actually just going to choose to feel good, you know, and that's what they don't want.
That's it.
Yeah.
So that's awesome that you see that, man, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And well, man, I've loved getting to know you, man. I appreciate you coming on here and chatting with me for a while.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to kind of say in closing?
We covered a lot, man. Yeah. You have any other questions?
No,
Are you
man.
pretty good?
We're
Yeah.
good,
I
man.
think we had talked about the skating, talked about the family. I mean, yeah, I think if there's anything I could leave with, it's just, again, kind of what I'd already said about just encouraging people to whatever that dream is, even if others think it's crazy, because that's something I maybe didn't tell. Like I said, being that kid at the church, wanting to be a pro skater, people asking, what are you actually going to do with your life? No, I believe I can be a pro skater. I believed in it, and I've achieved it because I was believing it enough to let it change how I thought, let it change how I talk, let it change how I showed up at the skate park. And I would just want to encourage you with that, to whatever that dream is, go after it. The Bible says, commit to the Lord. Whatever you do, your plan will succeed. It's found in the book of Proverbs. So apply those spiritual principles for your life and just open yourself up to see what's possible. And everyone's got a little bit more in them than they think. I think as well, that we've got a little more gas in the tank. We're more capable than we even realize. And so start to challenge yourself in that. Grow, be encouraged to grow and build something beautiful with your life.
Awesome. Beaver, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks.